lots of dragging, dropping, pasting, and making quick changes, that kind of stuff. So I don't really need wireframes for it. And the Figma prototype at the moment, its capabilities are good enough to get my point across for people that need to give me feedback. So, to wrap up my rant,
I don't need.
We are kind of live now. This is what I always wanted to say. We are live.
We are officially live.
We are officially live, exactly. I mean, this is just an experiment.
All right, we're back.
Back with another episode again.
Yes, it's us again. Hi.
Yeah, not really a set topic this week. Not something we thought of before. We're just going to discuss anything that's happening in design currently, the design world and AI or not to AI, that kind of thing. So, very curious, Tyler. What's going on in your part of the design world?
A lot of AI, I guess, to follow the theme. I was curious. I posted about this last week, and I got some good, a lot of engagement, I guess, on LinkedIn, where I posted that wireframes are dead, and I'm tired of using them. So essentially what I'm starting to do is I'm trying to figure out ways to focus more, like give more time to focus on like the creative part of like my design work. So like a lot of it is what, like we mentioned in last episode, like 70% of my work is strategy and 30% of it is design. And because I'm working in the startup world, everything's moved super quickly. So I'm trying to find ways to automate some of like the low hanging fruit and spend more time on like the magical moments in design. So I've been vibe coding a lot lately, which I found super useful, but more specifically for like the wireframing stage. So essentially we've just doing the discovery work and then creating a thing to show some clients to see if whether it's stakeholders or clients to validate an idea or a concept. So instead of creating a bunch of gray boxes and arrows, I create like a prototype, a working prototype, where I can share a link because I've created it via Claude, and we can record a session and have clients kind of use it and see if it's at all useful. Got some pushback that wireframes are useful, which they are in certain cases, but in my use case in fintech, if I'm presenting a wireframe that's not data accurate, I lose them during a conversation. So that's why I found it's useful for me. I'm curious your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's create a little bit of context first. You don't have to give any names or anything, but what type of company are you in? And you are talking about clients. So what type of clients does your company have?
Yeah, so I work for.
It's there's a big difference depending on your situation whether or not a wireframe could be useful. So, just curious about your context there.
Yeah, I work for a fintech company. Essentially, we have presentation software for advisors to kind of communicate like future investments. So whether it's onboarding new clients and showing them what they're currently invested in versus what they're proposing, or doing quarterly or yearly reviews and seeing what changes or improvements they want to make to their portfolio for like their financial well-being. And through that being the vehicle, there's a lot of charts, tables, and numbers. And when we're pitching new ideas, the metadata that we're exposing has to be super accurate and realistic. And many times it becomes like a sticking point where a graph is sometimes early days, like graph is just like a couple lines, X and Y axis. That is not super realistic. And then conversation halts because it's like, I don't understand. This is not realistic. And it kind of halts it. But with a quick prompt in Claude, I'm able to like give it context, output a realistic scenario so that we can focus on the concept rather than the data that it's exposing.
Yeah. So that's because your clients, they are very knowledgeable about data and numbers and graphs and that kind of stuff. So, if you would show it to me, I would be like, yeah, here's my feedback, and I think this works here and it doesn't work there, blah, blah, blah. But then your target audience, they know so much about the graph, they trip over, a wireframe not being accurate. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. I had a session yesterday where a similar thing. So I was showing a new add-on to our platform, and I showed an investment that had a too high of a return, and he was immediately stuck. Like, client invested 100,000 and then it was paid out 150,000 per month on a yearly basis. Like, it's like, what fund is this and where can I buy it? Like, okay. So like, they're like, I guess in my world specifically, we need to have things look super realistic. In that case, it was a Figma prototype. So I didn't put in the work to make it super accurate, but my vibe coded experiments have turned out to be beneficial.
And what I'm wondering now is that the challenge you mention is about the accuracy of numbers, which is not per se a wireframe problem. Like, you can have like a mid-fidelity type wireframe with accurate numbers. And you've been probably working with these type of clients long enough that you know more or less the type of graph that they will accept. So in that case, does it matter if it's vibe coded or wireframed? As long as the data is more or less okay, right?
Fair, but also like there's some additional benefits as well. So maybe it's less relevant for maybe simple experiences, but like the experiences that I've been building have been complex. So like they're data dependent. So a couple months ago, I worked on a feature where there's a journey which has 4 different steps. And then we're collecting pieces of data along the way to eventually output some charts and a graph at the end. But we started with like discovery, like our users will like to expose or show the clients these set of metrics with this graph. Now we had to reverse engineer to output that specific graph and those metrics, there are some calculations that are needed, and we needed to collect specific inputs along the way.
Right.
So mapping that out for me, I guess specifically on like in FigJam, like in a wireframe, I'll lose track of the math, but I'm able to ingest or give context to Claude to like, here's our output, and here are the different steps that we have. And I validate, like, based on this step, have I collected enough information to output specific metrics at the next step? Yes, no, okay, right. No, why not? What am I missing? Because we need this specific input to multiply by X, to get this specific output. And I'm able to like have this partner, I guess, in crime, for lack of a better word, to kind of to guide me, to validate and guide me along the way. They're making sure that whatever I'm showing to the client makes sense and is realistic, and it's also achievable from the engineering point of view. So, I'm not stuck at that point where like I'm having this checkpoint with my engineering team, and then they're asking like, do we have this information? And then my answer nowadays is yes. Here's the math, here's the documentation that I've created to validate. We have this specific information, but we might have to speak to the data team to pull in these missing metrics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So like there's additional benefits to it outside of just like data accuracy.
Of course.
Yeah. But that's just experience that I found so far. I'm early days on experimenting with these new tools.
Well, I'm just super excited to talk to you about actual real life usage of vibe coding, vibe designing, AI prototyping, like whatever you want to call it, because what I see online is a lot of clickbait and FOMO and that kind of stuff, where I'm not sure if they actually work with it themselves. I myself am using AI a lot, but more than 90% of my AI usage is outside of design, but still helping my design. So I have tons of questions for you, like not tons, probably like 3 at the moment, but because it's just so interesting to talk to someone who's actually using it. But maybe first on the wireframes. Like I have a very strong opinion on wireframes, and I don't think they were useful at all or needed at all for the last at least 5 years, like even before AI became such a mainstream thing. And that's because old school traditional design tools, if it's Sketch or Figma or Framer or anything, they became so much better and easier to use over the last few years, that this whole benefit of wireframing, like you just drag a few boxes around, it's way quicker than having to go high fidelity. That I don't think that's really a valid case anymore because of design systems and Figma and that kind of stuff. For one of my biggest clients at the moment, also a startup, like really early stage, like we're working on an MVP now of a big step forward of what the product can do. I'm working in Figma like right away, and we're making high speed steps forward, getting feedback every day, and then every day I put in 1 or 2 hours to make big improvements. Mostly possible because before this step, I've already had a couple of months of building components in Figma and colors and font choices, typography, that kind of stuff. It's lots of dragging, dropping, pasting, and then making quick changes, that kind of stuff. So I don't really need wireframes for it. And the Figma prototype at the moment, its capabilities are good enough to get my point across for people that need to give me feedback. So to wrap up my rant, like I don't need wireframes at all, and I'm confused that we're still, we as in the design community, we're still talking about it. Like it's like just the fact that you have I think quite a viral post, lots of engagement on wireframes. Like we're so divided on it, and in my opinion, it's so obvious that we don't need them anymore. I'm not sure why we're still talking about it.
Yeah, I don't know why we're so. Maybe we love our tools and it's hard for us to change. But like, I think the point of, at least for me, maybe I've missed something, but I think the point of wireframes was to focus on the feature rather than the aesthetics. And then whenever back in the day we pushed, there was like delicate balance of like how gray was our experience, because if any hint of color, we get feedback from clients saying I don't really like the color, so it was more of like a distraction. So it's I think the process, or that step of the design stage, was to validate the idea and like the flow, how things worked, rather than focusing on like the visual treatments. I think that was the benefit of it at that point. But in your example, working with your client, you'd mentioned that you've already completed the kind of creating the components, working on the branding, so that you didn't need to kind of, how did that work? Like going from having the brand approved to straight into Figma designs?
Well, they already had a logo and some color. I did a bit of tweaking around typography, cleaning it all up, deciding on what to use for main titles and smaller titles, that kind of stuff. But with them being like really early stage, it was easy to get feedback and to get it approved. Like they had, it's 2 founders, one of them being a developer, and then he has a bit of development help, and then a few interns, and then me as a designer, like a founding designer, or well, after the fact. So no corporate like 6-week process of getting one color change approved. It's like, yeah, I like this, and here's my feedback, and then I make a new version, and then at some point it was ready to go. But then at the same time, like, it's not finished. Like if you look at the current state of the branding, it's different compared to 2 months ago. and in 2 months' time there will be some improvements or changes at least as well. So that's I think startup mentality. It's improve on the go, work, ship, get feedback, repeat. And then so that's just a startup. And if you look at a corporation, they have something in place already as well. Like there's no corporation without a logo, without a name, without a current website. Like they're just too big. They at least have something, even if it's just a template or whatever, like something generic. I've always believed that point as well of the black and white versus color. Just to not get distracted by aesthetics. The what color could we use here is a way better question than I don't like this purple. Why is this purple?
Absolutely.
At the same time, in my 10 years of being a designer on the job, 10 years of working experience, I have done a lot of wireframing, also working with clients on wireframing, and they never worked. It's the we're not talking about this, but we're talking about that, like that argument. It never happens. Yeah. They always ask me like, well, but it doesn't really connect with them because it's black and white and low fidelity. There's such a disconnect between that and how they envision it themselves that it's always me explaining like, no, that's a wireframe. Yeah, I'll add a shadow later. Yes, your logo will be there. And perhaps this is the moment we will get our first online hate or trolls, and they will say like, well, that's you because you're a shitty designer. I don't think so. I've been in so many different roles, from startups to multi-billion revenue corporations in different types of roles. Wireframes have never worked for me, and they're not as quick as people say they are. And I just feel like that's outdated design education that's still trying to survive in this day and age.
Yeah, I think it was along this. It's on the same line of like people back in the day convincing me that drawing, then using paper with a pencil to draw wireframes was useful at all. It was a waste of paper, I found. I'm like, okay, now I have to recreate this on my computer now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe I do that for like a minute just to unlock my brain. If I have a few thoughts, it's like a quick 30-second, 60-second scribble to like, oh yeah, let's try that, and then it's moving over to the design tool or prompting tool of choice to get going. Starting with pen and paper was such a cool hipster thing to say in 2015, I guess. Yeah.
And also, like more specifically, paper prototyping. Have you tried? Remember when that was the big craze?
Yeah. I went to university to learn more about design from 2011 until 2015, and I've had paper prototyping lessons.
Yes.
And that's the last time I used it.
Yeah, not useful to have a user interview where it's like, okay, imagine you'd click this with your finger, and then this. It's very
and then you're there being nervous, fumbling with your stack of paper to find the right screen that they're going to, and then it's just a big mess. We had cheaters on our programming tests in university too, and then the solution from the school was that we had to write our code on paper instead of on a computer, which was imagine writing a JavaScript on paper with brackets and that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's one way to learn. I mean, if you're doing it by hand, that means you absolutely know how it works.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's helped me today. We talked about this before, like my prior programming knowledge really helps me validate AI output to see if it's spaghetti code or not.
Yeah.
What I also think, like, we're quite, I think we more or less agree on wireframes, that it's maybe its best time is behind it. But I think it's also useful in any situation where you're really convinced about something to try and switch seats. Like if you really take a look at the arguments from wireframing people, like what do they say, and could they be right? Like, are we wrong? So I'm not sure if you recall any comments from your post. Don't want to
Yeah.
put you on the spot, but like
No,
anything
and
that comes to mind. Like, what did they say in the
the
pro
only
wireframe
argument
camp?
the only argument that I'll accept, I'll still push back on it, but because I also had this conversation internally with one of my team members about this. Like, yeah, I'm curious what you think about the idea of wireframings. Was the fact that we've been doing design for quite a long time, so we understand the process. But for junior designers who are not totally familiar with the process, having the wireframe step for them to like creating the inputs, creating the frames as an exercise to get more familiar with like the development process is the only argument that I'll have, which is fair. Meaning like it's the same idea with like using cursor and you have never touched a stitch of code. If it's outputting things you don't understand, then there's some background. Like to your point, you have a developer background, so you have a better idea of what it's outputting. So it's probably similar for creating those gray boxes, which is I'll accept kind of, but I think you can still use other tools to learn what you need to learn at that specific stage, regardless of your seniority.
Yeah. Well, I can really see that argument, that the reason what they're saying, to learn something. Maybe it's good for a junior designer to not focus on aesthetics right away, but focus on structure and layout, typography, gestalt, all the good stuff, the classic design theory. But then again, that it doesn't have to be a wireframe. It can be black and white, high fidelity as well. So maybe the line between when you go from wireframe to not a wireframe is quite blurry. Like, does it have, is it boxes only? Can it be high fidelity but no color, no animation, no shadows? So that's a bit tricky. But I can see it. And one thing that's I don't have an answer to yet is, does it matter? Like, do you need to understand the output of your AI work? Like, do you need to see if it's valid design theory wise? I hope the answer is yes. I'm clinging on to really keep it on yes, because with our experience and knowledge, like we have a lot of it, and that's a way for us, you and me, to stand out from the crowd. But at some point, if it doesn't matter anymore, if AI becomes as good as it doesn't matter, well, and then the answer is no, and that really sucks for us. But I don't think it's going to go there. I don't think it will go that far. I don't see it happening, at least. But that's the big question. Like, do you still need a lot of knowledge on any topic?
I think I think this goes back to like the conversation of like, should you be a generalist or a specific person who's good at a specific thing? I think it's good to have base level knowledge or foundational knowledge on whatever specific field it is, and then you can use that AI tool to get to a specific place because you have a bit of context. I don't think it's going to get to a point where you don't need to have any knowledge whatsoever. Or at least if you have no knowledge using a tool versus someone who has a decent knowledge, I think the person with the decent knowledge is going to outperform the first person every single time.
Yeah, I think so too. Then to keep this existential crisis going a little bit, does it matter for your client who isn't a designer?
It doesn't.
Like one of my other half Canadian clients is, I talked with him about his product and the work we were doing together. And it turns out I hardly do any UI work for him, because the things he can generate are good enough. So I asked him, like, do you think it would benefit your business if, let's go back one step first. Like, the things he generates is a 6 out of 10 score quality wise. So I asked him, do you think it will benefit your business? More people signing up, better user retention, blah, blah, blah. If I would spend quite a bit of time turning the 6 out of 10 into an 8 out of 10. And he wasn't sure. We kind of agreed on it not really being that important for him for his type of work. So in that case, like he doesn't need a designer, but at the same time, he is a very skilled developer. So he probably knows how he can use AI to get a 6 out of 10 design website ready. So yeah, that really hurts our initial point of a skilled user is going to get better output than a not skilled user.
Yeah, I think that's what's also scary for like junior designers getting into the industry. Like if anyone can get a 6 out of 10,
yeah,
like it's harder for kind of juniors, people who are just getting in the industry to kind of compete, right?
Yeah.
Versus people who are more seasoned can get it like 6 out of 10. It's like 6 out of 10 is baseline. We can get it to 8 to 10 out of 10. I think that's where someone might be concerned, because mediocrity isn't good enough anymore. I think that's table stakes.
Yeah, true. I have you talk about junior designers. I have maybe 2 things to share in that regard. I'm curious what you think about it. No, first of all, I feel for junior people in any tech role. With AI doing so much, entry level stuff, like it's really hard for them to get a foot in the door, to get their first place. At the same time, it's been hard to get your first job as long as I can remember. It took me 8 months of applying for jobs to get my first job when I came fresh out of school. And then once I had that first job, like that job, they got acquired, and then there wasn't room anymore for quite a few people, including myself, because I was one of the latest joiners. So it's easier to get rid of me, blah, blah, blah. But because I had that 1 year of experience, the next time I started looking for a job, it only took me 2 months instead of 8. And then the time after, 1 month, and then, it became easier and easier to get work. So my point is, like, it's always been hard to get your first job. And second point, it's also easier than ever to get your first job, which is quite the, the contrast is quite high, because I feel like AI is making a lot of people a bit lazy. The obvious AI cover letter, that kind of stuff, full of typos, and just creating a handwritten cover letter or just 10% better portfolio puts you in the top 5% of all applicants right away. So that duality, I think, is really interesting for junior people. Like, it's harder than ever, perhaps, or it's always been hard, but it's also easier than ever. Maybe that's just super confusing for them.
Yeah, I think you're totally right there. I think it comes down to effort. I think advice for any junior person is just work super hard. Show up every day, be consistent, and then yes, to your point, I think it's always been hard to find your first job. It's like everyone's asking for 3+ years experience, and if you have none, what can you contribute? So that part is a grind. But after you land in that first job, it's all downhill from there. Well, in a positive way, meaning it's easy. It's easier. It'll be easier afterwards. Plus, it's easy it's easier to create your own like projects now. Like if you're in that 8 months period where you're applying, start your own project. That can be a real thing that you ship.
True.
It's so easy I know, like, being an entrepreneur is like it's a catchphrase now, but like we have the tools that are available now for everyone to gain access to, and specifically for junior designers to like create and ship a thing. Like you get to do things end to end versus like typically when you start in your junior role, you get to handle your responsibilities are this small. And as you kind of scale up, but you can start off like doing end-to-end stuff and then shipping a thing. It can be a 3 out of 10, but you've you went through the entire process of designing, building, and shipping a thing that you can hand to someone and they could potentially buy it.
Yeah, true. It doesn't have to be something to buy, even if it's just a little snippet for on your website. Just to show people that you have that entrepreneurial spirit, perhaps. But more importantly, you will get feedback and you'll learn. People have something to say about the thing you made, and it might hurt your feelings, and you will learn how to handle it and how to perhaps counter that feedback, because the feedback is wrong, or you can make a new version that's better. So yeah, that there's a lot of benefit there. But I think the main challenge for a junior designer is guidance. I feel like boot camps and most design education is outdated. Teaching you double diamond and design thinking, and let's spend weeks on talking to people without doing anything. Without doing anything, you're doing a lot, of course, in research, but without any output for a client to see. Like, hey, where's my website? I don't see anything yet. That kind of stuff. It's hard to know what to do and in what order to do anything. I think only like 0.1% of all people looking to get into design are like gifted somehow that they exactly know what to do from day one. I know I'm not part of that 0.1%. It took me years to have that wait a minute moment, and perhaps design education is a bit broken that way.
Yeah, I think so. Like we said before, we learn 10% of what we need to do in school. The rest is like on the job, fumbling around, getting like guidance from like your peers at the time, or your manager, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So
it's hard to like, sometimes I've seen a lot of people, even outside of design, just being obsessed with the education piece. Like, I don't know everything yet, so I'm going to take another course. I'm going to take this. But it's like, at some point, apply it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. But that's also because it's scary to apply it. Because when you try and apply it, you will figure out if you can do it, and people can have opinions about you, and that's scary. People might not like it, or you might not be able to do it. Then what?
Well, I think we've gone through that journey. I think the first thing we've designed and handed over like a school paper. Please, is this good enough? I think that's the theme of earlier in our career, is like, is this good enough? Yes, it's like constantly searching for that approval. But after a while, getting rejected hundreds, if not thousands of times, I think you either gain the shell that protects you from that piece of feedback, or just a better understanding that it's a necessary part of the process and not to take it personally.
True. Yeah. That's one of the main reasons why I decided to just have the whatever version as version 1 out the door as quickly as possible, because you already know that it's not complete. You know that there are going to be unknowns that you only discover when you show it to users or a stakeholder. So sure, it's not pixel perfect. The data is good enough that we show, and a few edge cases aren't thought of, and that's fine, because when you show it to your stakeholder, then they will be very angry, like, oh, wait a minute, you didn't think about that edge case, blah blah blah. And then okay, well, then you have your feedback and you can work on it for a much better version 2.
I think that's a better strategy than waiting till you have this perfect thing. But if you can quickly show them a thing, then they can give that feedback. Yeah, then it's a conversation facilitator at the end of the day. It's like, you're engaging with a client, they have an idea or they have an improvement they want to do. They often don't have can picture things in their head as well as we do, so they need something for reference. How
true,
regardless of what the fidelity of that thing is.
Yeah. Well, I really like what you're saying there. Like, it doesn't matter what the fidelity is. So if that's the case, if it doesn't matter how polished it is, why are we silly designers then still arguing about tools and wireframing? Yes or no? Wouldn't we be better off talking about how to be a better accelerator and facilitator for our clients to become better as a whole job? as a whole, what's the word? Field.
Yeah, it's that's true. It's because it's that pesky word designer as part of our name. It's like we're holden to like where there needs to be some kind of design thing that we deliver. But like it's true. Like what we're doing is just having conversations, and then we're the goal is to deliver something again like that's production ready, or that it's a useful tool for a client or a website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The tools that we get like has changed so much over the days. We're not building websites using tables anymore. That was fun though.
Oh yeah.
But like the tools that we use change, and then the output is the same. It's just happy clients and happy product that we give them.
True. Do you, like, I know you write a lot on social media, design related. Do you also read a lot of content from the design communities on, let's say, Twitter, LinkedIn, but also Reddit?
Not on Reddit. On LinkedIn, I'll read. I'm more of like a passive consumer on YouTube. So like I'll find a video that's interesting, and then I'll have autoplay, and it'll find recommended videos for me. I'm very much into like not designers specifically, but like indie hackers or like just builders who are leveraging these tools and building quickly, and new ways to build certain products, like regardless of like their background, which is very interesting to me. So it's that's the kind of the research that I'm doing now, is just understanding like the entrepreneurial journey, that like the business side of like creating a thing and shipping it, whether that's marketing, whether that's like sales techniques, like how to pitch ideas, things that just like would strengthen any designer outside of the things that we normally do on a day-to-day.
Right. Yeah, well, that's smart to look to look for content that's design adjacent instead of purely design. The reason I'm asking is because I feel like there's a big difference in overall sentiment with the based on the platforms you're on. Like X/Twitter has a lot of what you're saying. Entrepreneurial design founders, design studio owners, that kind of stuff. LinkedIn is, I feel, more middle of the road. Like it's a little bit of everything. But especially Reddit, Reddit can be, if you look at the different design communities there, it can be very, I don't want to say pessimistic, but there's a lot more content on I've applied hundreds of times and nothing's happening. The market is broken. Look at these job requirements. How can they ask us to do this? But also, which I think is quite sad, a lot of people, they don't want to or are unsure if they should pursue design as a career because of the stuff they're reading. Like, hey, is it even, like, can I even succeed based on what I'm reading here? Like, isn't the market too saturated? Me being the positive person that I am, it's that makes me a bit sad that I hope social media content we create, you and I here, is motivating and positive and authentic, but not something that would put some people into so much doubt that they're not sure if they should pursue a career that they're interested in.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I haven't delved into Reddit. It seems like a magical place that might be more darker than most. But like, is Reddit more anonymous than it is like, do you have like a profile that people can go with your photo that has information about you, or is it more of like a place where you can be anonymous? There's like random, I feel like there's more random usernames.
It is. Yeah, it is. Well, you could be very open. You could have a Tyler White, like one word, small letters, with links to your LinkedIn and Twitter and websites. You could have it on your profile, but you could also be called, water slide enthusiast 12. I don't know. I'm looking at my computer background is a picture of my daughter on a slide. So I'm like, hey, water slide 12 as a username. Super random. You could be super anonymous and random, and be a troll or an anonymous helper. Like you could be a superhero for some people. So yeah, it's more anonymous.
That might be an indicator where like people are able to be more free and I guess complain more, versus I guess on LinkedIn it's your professional, it's tied to you as a person. So you better be happy all the time. Not to say that everyone's happy on happy on LinkedIn.
It's more correct. Perhaps it's more because your employers, future employers and clients, they're all there too. So you have to be more thankful and politically correct about how you talk about stuff. We talked about this before, like on Reddit. I think you said it, like you have posts that go viral or nothing happens. Like there's no in between. I have the same on Reddit. Like I try to answer quite a few questions in the design subreddits over there. I either get like 50 or 100 upvotes, or I get 20 downvotes. But regardless of the upvotes or downvotes, it's all meant to be helpful and educational, really to answer a question. But I think it's really close to what you experience with your wireframing post. Like when you hit a nerve, when you try to be helpful, but it doesn't align with one of like the main beliefs we as a design field have, then you will get downvoted like all the way to whatever place. It's lots of downvotes, and it might be true. Like it might be my experience, how it really happens in real life, but it doesn't matter. Like if the majority doesn't believe it, then you still get the downvotes. And I think that's perhaps the main challenge or issue over there. And because of it, people get
downvote a downvote seems very like it's implicit that I don't like the thing, which doesn't exist. I think they've removed the downvote from Instagram,
from YouTube.
YouTube. LinkedIn, it's just like what type of praise you want to send me. The only negativity you'll get is in the comments. Interesting. Yeah, maybe that's just part of like that world. Get downvote,
well,
but
that's
it's
a good observation.
Point.
Yeah, I didn't. I know it's removed from lots of different places, but I forgot that Reddit is perhaps the only place where you can still downvote. My best downvote that I ever had was about maybe I even take a bit of pride from it. Like this is my most downvoted post.
The way you said that was was prideful.
We're kidding around a little bit, but it was about my developer colleague asks me how I will hand over my design in code. How can that even be? And then everyone, like there were I think 30 comments, and only one person had downvotes, and that was me, because I was the only one that said like, well, I deliver my designs in code all the time, and here's how it works. And I think if you want to stand out, you should try it as well, because I see more and more clients ask me for it. And then then it went down the off the rails really quickly. And I was really confused, because I was like, well, I'm trying to be helpful here, trying to help this person, with his question, and perhaps help him get a few more clients. But it wasn't appreciated, just like it's not appreciated, I think, within the design community to talk about skipping wireframes altogether.
Yeah, but I think Reddit sounds like a place where you can get some unfiltered feedback, which sounds great. Regardless of the downvote perception, you can get the feedback that you want, and just you take it to heart, or you just take it as feedback that you can use to get better.
True. Well, that's what I really value about it. Like I like the honesty, the Dutch directness. That's part of my Dutch upbringing. But like we said in the beginning, like it's really important when you really believe something to also really take the opposite view super seriously. So I read all those comments in that post that we're talking about to also learn about why people think we shouldn't deliver in code. Because there's always the option that we're wrong about things, and so it's always good to learn. Like if you only look at people that agree with you, if you only speak to them, you will end up in some sort of bubble or an echo chamber, which I don't think is a healthy thing to be in, career-wise at all. So I don't mind the downvotes. It just points my attention to something I said, and it makes me think like, hey, wait a minute, there's something happening there. maybe I was wrong, or people don't like what I said, or what's happening there, and then I'm trying to learn from it. I think that's perhaps also the power of Reddit.
I think you're showing your true spirit as a designer to taking that feedback not to heart.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I'm of course more happy with the upvotes, not because it grows your account or anything. I don't care about it, but if that means people found it helpful, then I'm happy I was able to comment on it. I just try to help a lot of people in the design community, and that's something I really enjoy.
Good. I might have to delve into this new space. Get a couple of downloads on the way.
Yeah. Well, that will happen. That it really depends on the community you're in. It is also for some games I play, and then when you ask a question on Reddit, you get so many helpful comments. But then for another game, when you ask the same beginner type question, you get a lot of sarcasm. So it really depends on the community.
Fair, totally fair.
Yeah. Right. So we've been talking this whole episode about wireframes mostly. Even though at some point we said, like, why are we even talking about wireframes? So that's
now we're talking about it even more.
Now we're really full circle on it.
Well, wasn't the main topic, but it became. I guess we just went down the rabbit hole. Yeah. The same way we went down the Reddit rabbit hole. Yeah,
well, that's that's the fun thing about not having a set topic before we start this recording. We'll just see what happens, and wireframes happened, which is
which is the quote of the episode. I think.
Wireframes happened. Yeah, it's just the fact that we're talking about it now and still are means that it's so deeply in our designer's DNA that it's just going to stick with us forever, and that we will still talk about low or high fidelity in 5 years.
Hope not.
All right. Anything else on the list? Anything you forgot to say, or any closing remarks, perhaps?
Well, I liked this episode. I liked no topic episode. It's refreshing. I think we're going to do more of these every once in a while. And we'll see where the conversation. I think we both have lots to speak about, and I like where this conversation sometimes goes.
What do you think about? And this is just podcast building in public, with this being recorded still. What do you think about letting our audience ask questions, and then you and I tackling a question like that, or perhaps as a part of an episode, or spending a full episode like this based on some sort of intriguing question that we had?
Well, that's interesting. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
If our audience sends us a bunch of questions, spend a full episode just answering them off the cuff.
Yeah.
We won't look at them beforehand. That'd be great.
Yeah, and that's even better. No preparation, just
no prep.
On the spot, speed answering, like go. Well, then that should be our call to action. And I think for this episode to really open the door for people to ask us questions, which I guess the best way to do is to comment, depending on the place you're listening, right? On YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, perhaps include the question in a review, 5 stars plus question, see what I did there.
Nice one.
Because I don't think you can leave comments on those platforms on an individual episode. So review plus question, and then we will really do our best to answer those questions.
Yeah, send in your comments. I'm looking forward to that episode.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be really cool. And then in the meantime, because we were giving people some time to put in questions and for us to collect all of them, we will talk the next time about what we call the design job title bingo, right?
Yes. UI, UX design, web design / whatever else we have on the docket.
Yeah. Just to put in one fun thing about that episode is that I went for an intake for a project somewhere, and the person I was talking to had UX champion as a title on his door.
Legend.
Of his office, like his office door. It was like name, subtitle, UX champion.
absolute legend. I want to meet that guy.
Yeah, well, you'll figure out how it went and my experience there in the next episode.
There you go. Nice teaser.
Yep. Hopefully I'll see you all then.
All right. Till next time. That was a great episode. So if you like this content and want to hear more, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, and if you want to see more, please go to designtablepodcast.com, Spotify, Apple Music, all the big players and more.